Hi everyone, my name is Zach Taylor. I am in the EDUC 6740 school law class, and here is my presentation for my topic of brief. And the topic that I chose was teacher-student relations. Part of the reason that I chose that is with all of the many things that are taking on, it seems like if you look at the news from week to week, it seems like something new is coming up in the news about student and teacher relations that's inappropriate behavior. And I want to dive into this from a legal standpoint and look a little bit more into it and see what's there and see what federal, state, and local school board policies were in place. And so this has been a great opportunity to see what's there and maybe see what we can do to improve upon this to help prevent some of these things from happening. It's unfortunate, especially for the children that are involved in these situations, and also for the professionals that are involved as well. So my first slide here just kind of talks a little bit, teacher-student relations and professionalism, and keeping and maintaining that professionalism as educators. What a great career opportunity this is, and the trust that we have with the public is so critical in what we do in teaching the future of our communities, and we have such an impact on these young people's lives for the future. And if there's negative things that can come into this, which could be sexual relations, inappropriate behavior, that also has negative impacts on our students. On slide 2, I focused just on Utah teachers. I know that we could look at this across the nation, which would be a huge area and a scope to look at, but for this topic of brief, I've tried to narrow this down to Utah case studies, court cases that have taken place here within the state of Utah, to try to narrow this down. Have just Utah teachers in general. Children deserve the right and protection against sexual predation. We, as teachers, as a school, as society, we need to protect against those type of things. For slide number 3, I've talked a little bit here about our scope of employment as teachers, professionalism, communication, outside of assigned responsibilities, receiving gifts, services from students, transportation of students, social media communication, and having social media accounts. It seems like there's just so many different things that are coming at us as teachers, and sometimes these things aren't talked about a whole lot. I've taught for 14 years now, and over those 14 years you briefly hear about some of this stuff, but a lot of this, there's some unknowns and gray areas on some of this. And I think one thing that we could do as teachers and administrators is maybe to facilitate more conversation about these topics so that we can be better prepared as different situations arise and come up. A lot of these things, as we're talking about relationships, it's common sense, but I wonder if we're losing our common sense a little bit as society is progressing. It seems like with some of the students that I'm working with, some of that common sense just isn't so common anymore. So why did I choose this topic? I have children of my own. That's mainly the reason. And also, I know some people personally that have been affected some professionals that have been involved in relationships, and I'm quite honestly surprised that that they've got to this point. Excuse me. And what else can we do to help protect not only the teachers, administrators, students? There's got to be more that we can do, and I think here's where we need to facilitate that conversation. I did a little comparison here of conduct, teachers, and also students. I don't think students really, there's much said to students about their conduct and how they need to represent themselves, and maybe there shouldn't be. But I think in the future, with the students and the maturity level, I think there needs to be more conversation, and students need to understand where they stand as a student, as well as teachers. Here's a few things, a few suggestions that I think that we could do. Annual training on code of conduct. I know that that's already done. Some schools take this very seriously, some not so much. I think we need to review this monthly, just to review some things, professional relations, keep that at the forefront of our mind so that we can be doing those things. Teachers, watching out for another. Try to be in twos as a teacher. I know that there's things you're not going to avoid that all the time, but if you have a student that you might have some red flags or concerns, try to have another teacher there as you meet with that student. Let administrators know if you've got some concerns. I think you need to bring those things to the table. People need to be aware, and we need to do what we can to support and help one another. And then just parent involvement. I think parent involvement is huge. Having parents being involved with their students and talking about professional relationships and inappropriate relationships is also a big thing. Slide 6, it just talks about some of the standards that I reviewed in this topic of federal law, state standards, local school board policy. Where do we go from here moving forward? I still think we're going to have relationships. Things are going to happen. But let's try to limit those relationships and do what we can to improve. Teachers are not exempt. No one is exempt from these relationships. We must not let our guards down. We've got to keep our guard up. We've got to be cautious of these type of things. So those are a few things here. I found this interesting. There's a very small percentage of teachers that are involved in helping establish a bad name for educators. 99% of teachers and educators are professional in what they do, but there's a very small percent. And sometimes the public doesn't realize that all these other teachers are doing a great job. They're doing a great service to our students, our kids, but boy, media can blow this out of the water. Hi guys, just want to wrap up on this closing slide. This has been a great opportunity to look at student-teacher relations. In my paper, I have some different court cases that I've looked at. I've not named any of that here in this presentation, but it's really given me an opportunity to explore and look more at the details and see kind of where teachers let their guard down. And grateful to look at those things, and grateful for the opportunity to participate in this assignment.